Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Taylor, my buddy Kenny, and we are finishing up Bricky's Every Warhammer Faction Re-Explained Part 1. This is going to be our Part C. This will finish his first part of the deal, and then we'll roll into
the second
Part 2. Correct. All right, let's see here. Last time we did what? Chaos Gods, some Astra Militarum,
definitely Astra Militarum.
And then now we're going to roll into the Space
We learned about the Omnisire. And
oh yeah, for sure. That's why I have to pray to all the time to make my old Plymouth work.
And
I'm not very pious because it doesn't run. It sits in my driveway, leaks oil.
Really now?
Pretty sure that's what it was designed to do.
Just sit in the driveway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That was his original design.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. A lot of the content there's some overlap with his other everything explained. But this also has some, I believe, different factions and stuff like that in it too.
Yeah.
So it'll be pretty good.
Yeah.
But I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm ready to finish this one up, and
I'm not gonna lie. I've been thinking up or doing some paint tests for my Thousand Suns box. But I've been sitting here staring at Age of Sigmar stuff.
Taylor,
I've already thought about in another paycheck, I could probably grab a box. That's probably a thing that people do. Have both. Orcs are orcs, right? Orcs are orcs.
So we're both going down.
And a kill team box. I'm gonna need a kill team box, but there's not really any kill team boxes that are really like, oh, I gotta have that. You know.
I mean, I guess I'm being drugged down this the Warhammer.
Yeah, hurry up and buy a dang
combat patrol.
A dang combat patrol. Pick something. Dark Angels. Something.
I know.
Pick something.
I
pick
definitely gonna probably Dark Angels here.
Dark Angels are cool.
Yeah, I think they are.
They're no Black Templars, but they're cool.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie though. If I bought a what do you call it? Not Blood Angels, not Dark Templar. What are they again? What are the ones you like?
Battle?
The guys you like.
Oh, Dark. Oh, Death Watch.
No, not Death Watch. The ones we were just talking about. The guys
Angel.
with the cloaks and the tabards, the Knights of the Round Table guys.
Dark Angels?
Dark Angels, Blood Angels. Their names are similar.
I'm like,
it's
are
rough. Yes, Dark Angels. Sorry, I'm a frittata. I'd paint them up like the Fallen, though.
Oh, okay.
Can you do that? Can you run like someone out there who knows better? If you want to run like the Fallen, would you get the Space Marine Codex and then whatever data sheets for Dark Templar, or would you use like a Chaos Marine like Codex? And is there something for like the Fallen in there? Like, what do you do? Someone let me know. That sounds rad. I'm sure lots of people or edgy boys do that. So
maybe. But yeah, let us know in the comments.
Then if you want to play him as the Risen, do you have to repaint those guys? Because now they're redeemed.
Oh, okay.
What do the Risen dudes look like? The Risen. My daughter would love that. The Risen. The kids, I bet, love it. They put Z's in it and everything. Anyways, I'll shut up.
Okay, let's say
unless you have something to add.
No, I don't have anything to add.
I'll drink water, so if I talk, I'll drown.
Okay, here we go, guys.
And they shall know no fear. The vastness of the Milky Way galaxy meant that the Emperor needed assistance bringing everyone back to the fold. And who better to do this than himself? But since the technology to be in many places at once does not exist anymore, the Emperor decided that it was time to become a dad, the same way Geppetto did, and with far less care. It is not my son, Arkan. None of them are. They are warlords, generals, tools bred to serve a purpose, just as legions were bred to serve a purpose. What a dad. The Primarch Project was started to create charismatic and unique leaders in the Imperial military. The diversity of these eventual leaders meant that each one could be specialized for certain circumstances across the galaxy. Depending on the type of conflict, one leader might be better than the other. So instead of forcing one leader to acclimate to a situation directly, it would be better to send a specialized leader and force to handle it. In order to do this, the Emperor used his genetic know-how and maybe a little bit of that forbidden stuff to create these genetically perfect gene fathers that had the ability to serve as his analog directly and also serve as the leaders of the respective Space Marine legions. All 18, that's right, all 19 of his sons were meant to be directly molded by the Emperor himself, despite their genetic differences. And they go as follows in order. Lionel Johnson, Fulgrim, Percherabo, Jagatai Khan, Lehman Russ, Rogel Dorn, Conrad Kurz, Sanguinius, Ferris Manus, Angron, Robute Gilliman, Mortarion, Magnus the Red, Horus Lupercal, Lorgar Aurelian, Vulcan, Corvus Corax, and Alfarius and Omegon. His sons, finalized and crafted to be the warriors he needed them to be, were complete. But he may have decided to do a bit of dabbling with things he shouldn't have and paid a price. Before the Primarchs were ready to go, an intervention by the gods of chaos prevented his plan from being completed as intended. Though the sources vary, the ultimate result of the Chaos God intervention was that all of the Emperor's tools were scattered throughout the galaxy at unknown places and times. Each one of his sons ended up in a completely different world, and instead of being able to directly influence their upbringing, these children were instead forced to experience the unique nature of their respective homeworlds. Some had a great time and lived in general luxury. Others, not so much. Despite his closest advisor, Malcador the Sigillite, saying, "All right, Chief, let's try this one again," the Emperor sensed each of his sons were still very much alive, and one of the primary objectives of the Great Crusade shifted to reclaiming each of his sons so they could take command of their specific Space Marine legions and carry out his will.
So I have a question because I probably missed it. So they got scattered, correct?
I was gonna ask the same thing. Yeah, like I want to know more about them getting like spirited away. I don't know what you want to call it, but apparently, I guess my understanding is that the Chaos Gods. I don't know if this was like a thing happened and then they all got like disappeared, or like it was this malicious, intentional thing. Like, oh, this guy's building all this badass stuff. We're gonna F with them and send all these people to different places. Like, I don't know. I guess if it was purposeful or by a consequence of something happening. You know how like when Slaanesh was born and it was like that big hole.
Yeah, that big hole in the
that whole thing happened and it caused like it shut down all their warp travel and everything. Like I don't know if it was like an after effect of some other event or if it was literally like with a purpose. Like, hey, we don't want this guy to put together like all these. Like I don't want this guy to have that many kids.
And
you know,
have
we got too many kids. We gotta take a few.
Yeah.
We're gonna take all his kids from him. He's a bad father. You know, I have no idea. So someone in the comments will let us know. I mean, I'm sure there's like 37 books that explain all this, how it happened, and who snuck into the nursery and like stole the little babies out the hospital. I don't know.
I was like, did I miss something? I
think in the last video too, he just said that they just got like scattered. Too. He didn't really elaborate on it, so I don't know those events. I'm sure that's all probably a whole like, book series
or a whole like age or period in time that it's a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a good point too. Did it just happen like overnight, or was this like, damn, I lost one, I'll keep an eye on the rest of them, and then oh shit, I lost
all of them.
Like every day I sneak into your room and steal a baby. You know, like I don't know. Someone out there knows. I don't. Someone will tell me. There's no way I'm gonna look on Wikipedia later. Seriously, tell me. But I will look on the Wikipedia. But someone probably has a bunch of like flavor.
Definitely. Okay.
I like the idea in my head without knowing anything. If you were to like put a gun to my head and like tell me what happened, how'd you lose these babies? I'm like, Zeech did it. Sneak in every night and switches out that baby with a doll.
Oh, and then
One a day. I don't know.
Like, the
Also, did Alpha and Omegon, since they're twin like bros, did they get? First of all, are they twins on purpose, or did he just like at the end was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna make two, make twins. I'll have a backup because I keep losing all these kids. No, I don't know. But did they get spirited away to the same place, or did they get split up? Someone tell me, because I think the Alpha Legion's awesome. I think they're cool.
Yeah. Okay. I'll continue then. But good, I'm not crazy for like it got glossed over. I was
not crazy.
Like, wait, what? Yeah.
These original Space Marine legions that were created alongside their Primarchs go in order: the Dark Angels, Emperor's Children, Iron Warriors, White Scars, Space Wolves, Imperial Fists, Night Lords, Blood Angels, Iron Hands,
Iron Warriors,
Ultramarines, Death Guard.
I mean,
Thousand Sons, Luna Wolves, eventually Sons of Horus.
I just like
the
tanks,
Word Bearers,
like
Salamanders, Raven Guard, and the Alpha Legion. Space Marines, unlike their gene fathers, the Primarchs, are not made in a vat. There is a process to recruit more members from humanity itself, which seems a bit strange considering how massive a Space Marine is compared to a normal man. But don't forget, the Emperor is really good with genetics. Less good with anesthetic, however. These prospects are recruited across humanity from various reasons and methods, and are generally killed during that process. But sometimes they aren't, and they are able to go through more and more of the actual training to assess certain traits that are important and relevant to being a Space Marine. Most of the time, the common factor is a pure, unrelenting willingness to kill the enemies of the Imperium. After going through psychological screening, the prospect, now called a neophyte, goes under the knife to become a Space Marine. And here is a quick list of all the cool new stuff they get genuinely shoved into their bodies. A secondary heart, an organ that makes your bones grow, an organ that makes your muscles big, an implant that makes your blood stronger, a little organ that turns your white blood cells into super white blood cells, a brain implant that allows you to sleep while being awake, a pre-stomach that allows you to digest literally anything, a spinal implant that allows you to absorb the genetic memories of what you eat, bigger and better lungs that can let you breathe underwater, an implant that gives you stronger eyes, new ears that keep you from being dizzy, a brain implant that lets you go into suspended animation if you're in a bad shape, skin that acts like transition glasses, I almost got it in one take, a brand new kidney, the ability to taste the air and find enemies like a bloodhound, a special coating on your skin that allows you to be protected in space, the ability to spit acid, a gland that allows you to absorb the unique genetic makeup from the gene seed in the first place, and a straight up carapace that allows the Space Marine to interface with their power armor directly. Quite often, these are put inside of you at dubious levels of mental alertness and dubious levels of anesthetic. After a more generalized indoctrination into the faith of the Imperium and a bit more training and other important manners, they can finally be welcomed as a fully fledged Space Marine. A Space Marine is quite literally a walking tank that is armed to the teeth. Two of the more iconic weapons held by a Space Marine are their bolt gun, which fires explosive shells the size of soda cans, and a chain sword, which is the Space Marine is clad in a colorful carapace known as power armor, crafted from extremely heavy and durable ceramite. The power armor of a Space Marine protects him from any terrors he may face, be it the void of space itself to an inhospitable atmosphere. This armor combined almost biologically with an already massive physique makes the Space Marine an almost unstoppable fighting force. And hell, if the armor doesn't protect them enough, they can always become a walking coffin like the dreadnoughts of the chapters are. What truly adds to it all, however, is the sheer difference in some of them. While a Space Marine in its own right is an indoctrinated freight train on legs, how they act can be quite different from chapter to chapter. The gene seed of a Primarch is not just helping them become big and strong, but allows them to gain certain traits from their forefathers. Everything from how they think to even slightly adjusting their physical appearance once it's been implanted. The gene seed can be the personality of an entire Space Marine. Take the Salamanders, for example. Salamanders have a predisposition to fire. as a whole and tend to be extremely large due to the size of their Primarch, Vulcan, and his enormous stature. Whereas someone like Sanguinius, Primarch of the Blood Angels, share more vampiric features and more angel-like qualities. A gene seed is not just aspects of the Primarchs, but they are also flaws too. Magnus the Red and his 1,000 Sons underwent something known as the Flesh Change, a horrifying mutation that, while it made them strong psychers, would affect their bodies so terribly that they would mutate away from humanity. Where other factions have inspiration for their culture from our real world, like the feudal Japanese, the Eldar, or Egyptian style Necrons, each Space Marine chapter themselves carry an inspiration. The White Scars are motorcycle riding Mongolian fighters. The Space Wolves are Norse Vikings. The Dark Angels are Knights of the Round Table, and so on. This moves into their fighting style, and truthfully, there is no end to the characters and options when it comes to the Space Marines. Space Marines are the main symbol you see, and while many of them can be simply indoctrinated warriors who only care about conflict and can be quite boring, then you meet Dante, or Bjorn, or Argel Tal, or Karn, or Lucius, or Erebus. And then you discover the wealth of these characters and tools of war you can have. For 1,100 years, I have fought and I have seen the darkness in our galaxy. I have seen the vileness of the alien and the heresy of the mutant. I have witnessed the sin of possession, and I have seen all the evil that the galaxy harbors, and I have slain all whose presence defiles the Emperor. I have seen what you will see. I have fought what you must fight, and I have slain what you must slay. So fear not and be proud, for we are the sons of Sanguinius, the protectors of mankind. We are indeed the angels of death. Despite being the poster children for Warhammer 40k as a whole, the presence of a Space Marine is a rare sight for the countless trillions of humans across the galaxy. Seeing one of these monstrosities is like seeing something akin to an angel sent by the Emperor himself. These angels of death are the essential fighting force to bring humanity back under the unified banner of the Imperium. Yet ultimately, the Space Marines are individuals torn from their families and conscripted to genetic modification and lifelong service for the dying Imperium. And though they are held in an almost holy light, most believe they are above and beyond the people they are designed to serve. Once designed as the protectors of humanity, they seldom view humanity as something worth saving. To the extent that it is a tiny, minute rarity, though not unheard of, for a Space Marine to put a normal citizen above them in any way. For most Space Marines and even their Primarchs, they are only here to do a job. They are there to kill the enemies of humanity, and I would be remiss if I didn't add at least one more of my favorite quotes to the tail end of this section. "The time for speeches is done," said Rogel Dorn. "The first great test is here. My order to you all is simple, yet heed it well, and exert yourselves to see it done. They are coming. Kill them all." While the Space Marines are the spearhead of the Imperium's Great Crusade and also a major player in its warfare, there is a significant amount of importance that must be taken on their transport. What sci-fi universe would be complete without its Navy? When you think of the Navy or ships on the open sea, you think of something that is sleek, something mobile, and something pretty big. For perspective, the longest self-propelled ship in history was the TTC-Wise Giant, an oil tanker that was about 458 meters long or over about 1,500 feet. This right here is child's play in the world of 40k ships. A ship that is considered to be an escort vessel in the Imperium is about 3 times the size of a Sea-Wise Giant, and the size of the ships only go up from there. Your most common ships are the cruisers. The light cruiser tends to average at about 2 kilometers long, or just over a mile in length, where the Dictator class cruisers can be over 3 kilometers or 2 miles in length. The largest ships are your battleships, and they are tremendous. We're talking 5-mile long, half a mile high monstrosities that look like gigantic Gothic cathedrals and filled to the brim with weaponry. And not only are they filled with weapons, but they are also jam-packed with crewmen. Battleships tend to, on average, carry a crew between several thousand to several million. And they need every single one of those members because we don't have advanced technology for other things to pilot themselves or control themselves in a meaningful way because there's no AI. A lot of this stuff has to be done manually. Even the reloading of those giant batteries is a form of manual labor. And of course, generally speaking, gliding through the stars is a very slow way to do things. And let's be honest, there can't be a science fiction setting without some form of hyperspace travel. This form of travel in 40K is less like going to Plaid in Spaceballs and more like going into Davy Jones' Zipper Dimension in SpongeBob.
Oh, now what? I suppose you're gonna show me. Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this? Some kind of magic act?
This is because it utilizes the immaterial warp to do so. Warp travel is handled by a navigator, which is an abhuman. It's a mutated human, don't worry about it. And they have a gene that gives them a third eye and the ability to help steer the ship through the warp, which, as we know, is hell itself and unreality. Now, this might sound exceptionally dangerous, and that's because it is. Now, the ship does have protection in the form of a Geller field, though. Originally, I assumed the Geller field is what you think it is, a large force field stopping all manner of horrible things, like demons from the warp tearing apart your ship. How wrong I was, though. So space travels to the warp basically involves riding on the Sea of Souls. Hell is real and you can surf on it. So you allow the current to carry you and the navigator to direct. But how can a current of souls and unreality carry you when it doesn't obey the laws of physics, time, or, again, reality? What a Geller field is not a force field, but a comatose imperial psyker dreaming of reality. It is not a bubble. What? It is a force of reality being projected by mutant Sleeping Beauty to counteract the unreality of the warp that you can then surf on. This, of course, is not a foolproof method of travel, and Geller fields can and do collapse fairly regularly. Being subjected to the warp itself without this Geller field is a terrifying prospect. In the best case scenario, your ship will be torn to shreds, but there are countless instances of ships being thrown out of the warp randomly throughout time itself. You leave for a 2-day mission and you come back 90 years in the past. Maybe you feel like you're lost in the warp for a century and it's only been 45 minutes. And that is only if the waves of souls don't rip your ship apart or have demons arrive on it to do unspeakable things to the crew. The Imperial Navy is an astronomically powerful force for the Imperium because the sheer volume of ships and guns on those ships create firepower that can sunder planets.
So they still
this is all juxtaposed with the sheer backwater nature of these ships.
Like waned, are they stuck with like, these are how many ships we have? Don't
lose them.
You know, like I don't know. Like, can they still make new ships?
Is it?
Someone will answer.
Yeah.
That. Are the Adeptus Mechanicus on like a Forge world? Like, is there a Forge world that's like a foundry and like we just crank out ships?
Because
or are they pissed like you blew a hole in the ship, we can't fix it, we don't know how it works.
We don't have the schematic because I remember
we don't have the tech. Yeah. What if they don't have the schematic? Like I guess maybe they can make. Yeah, somebody will answer.
Yeah, just like
answer, please. I need to know. I won't sleep until I know.
And he really won't sleep.
I wasn't gonna anyways.
Yeah. I mean, I was about to say kind of like the knife in the other segment we watched. It's like they needed to.
I'm just curious, like if that was like one of the things of like, guys, we don't know how to make them. I mean, clearly they make tanks.
Yeah, they make tanks and bullets and everything. Yeah. But so were the chips made before the whole AI overthrow and they stop or what?
Well, I assume most of their technology is from like
the time
it was made before then. During the age of technology,
and then it's maintained by the Motar.
Like technology has not advanced since then, but I think they forgot how to like make that technology, so they're stuck with like what they have. Like their technology is like frozen like in the segment, kind of like what they said, like, oh, there's this one guy that made these things work, he died, no one knows how it works.
Yeah, And
real shit, that's how I feel about my fucking Buick. I feel like my dad is the only one who knows how those cars work, and when he dies, no one's gonna know how those things work anymore. Like, and he has like binders full of like, if this happens, check this. Do this, like troubleshooting binders that he's written manuals on.
Yeah.
I'm going to be sitting there like poring over the sacred text to help someone on a forum, because that's how old this shit is, be like, yeah, did you check the jumper on this fucking deal and wiggle the thing underneath the hood and turn the twisty turny? Did you pray to the Omnissiah? You need to talk to the machine spirit within the Buick Grand National to make it work.
Whatever that may be called at this point.
Everyone's gonna be like, fuck this shit, I'll just swap it in LS. I'll just swap in something that like doesn't run 80s technology. Would you check vacuum hose 37 to make sure there's no leak in it?
No.
Side note, F vacuum hoses. He needs like,
I'm really like,
any old car where everything is run by vacuum hoses, especially like in the 80s, where someone at General Motors like, vacuum hoses. I just put 37 vacuum hoses in this car. We use everything to control an actuator on one end and a vacuum hose on the other.
I'm guessing they break down.
The rubber lines. No way they'll fail.
Oh, gee.
You designed a car to last like 10 years. F you guys. F vacuum hoses.
Oh, okay.
It's like copper wires weren't invented yet.
Maybe.
Like you like a switch, right? Oh, you want to switch to on off something? Why would you use a switch and a wire?
There's no reason to. No.
Run a rubber hose from under the hood where all the heat is, and heat kills rubber, to inside the car to your little thing that controls your AC, like hot or cold, and just put a bunch of vacuum hoses in there, and then we'll control the amount of vacuum it has to make a little door open and close to control if you get hot air or cold air. That's what we'll do. Way smarter. I hate I'm from the 80s. I hate the 80s. Why did they do that?
I thought you loved the 80s. No?
Maybe I do. I like the colors. I don't like the cars. They're terrible.
Yeah.
They're all terrible.
Okay.
Everyone in the comments, put your favorite 80s car in there, and I'll tell you how much it sucks.
Oh, and he'll do it.
Except for the Grand National. Except for the Grand National. It's the only good one. Name one other 80 cars as good as Grand National. It ain't. It sucks.
Let's continue the journey.
There's probably other cool 80 cars in there. They're all just slow. That's all.
While they are manned by crews of zealots, they are also operated with such a backwater tech, it completely confuses the reader. You see the long batteries of portside cannons that the ship has, and remember that AI is heresy in this world, and that all the mechanics are utilized by lobotomized slaves. So how do they load these? Well, they have gun gangs, massive gangs of hundreds of people manually loading these cannons. These are genuine gun loader gangs that get into gang wars and squabbles. On the ship's bridge, you may find the captain himself hardwired directly into the ship's chair permanently to control it the best they can. Giant screens of hololith data fill the room, and sensors across the ship are just as likely to tell you information as a surf running up to you with a scroll of parchment is.
I don't know, just put it in there with your
to a microphone to shout orders down a hallway as paper readouts tell you information of the enemy, and holy sigils and candlelit incense burners gleam your next move. While the
Imperium.
The Imperial Navy.
Okay.
Which is weird because he's been talking about it since.
Yeah, so
they showed a picture of a battleship.
Threw
me for a loop.
Yeah, it threw me. So
I'm out of water.
There.
Ran out of water for the next 30 minutes or whatever this video long is. I'm going to be drinking literally nothing but trying to suck moisture off the ice in this cup.
Oh no. So they are literally bound to old ways of getting around AI, and kind of like
that, and then they're not allowed to invent anything. At least the Adeptus Mechanicum dudes are, right?
It's almost like
so they're left with what they have, or until they find something like, guys, I found the shop manual to build a cart. Now we can build the cart, but without it, these are the Remember the Lego movie?
Yeah.
And the homeboy was like, "You're not building it by the instructions."
Yeah.
Like these guys will never be master builders.
Need the manual, need the book.
Yeah, these dudes will never be master builders.
Can't think outside the nine dots.
They're not Benny, and they're not building a spaceship.
I was about to say it's almost like taking like a submarine crew that has had technology and then putting them in a older submarine, and like you have to use it now. You can't use the newer submarine. Why not? Just because.
I don't know how you got there.
I don't know.
No, it's like finding a submarine and not having the fucking manual for it.
I get so.
You don't know how it works. And you're not allowed to take it apart to figure out how it works. Yeah. If you don't have the manual, you're screwed.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking of the really bad Battleship movie and how,
that is just terrible movie.
I know. And
why have you seen that movie? There's so many good movies you could have watched instead of that one.
But yeah.
You're like, oh shit, Rihanna in this movie? I'm gonna go watch it.
Definitely no.
I'm gonna go see her get hit by an alien instead of like her husband or something.
Let's continue. But
the other one
is not a specific faction of the Imperium in the same sense and format of this video. It is what shepherds around the entirety of its armed forces. Every Space Marine Primarch had a flagship, and every strike cruiser and battle barge has a story to tell. But if there is a single thing that the Shield of the Navy does the best, it is to help support and supply the monumental forces of the Imperium. The hammer of the Emperor himself, the uncountable men and women of the Imperial Guard. I don't care if these things have adapted to resist our las guns. If we can't kill them with our rifles, then we'll kill them with heavy bolters. And if we can't kill them with heavy weapons, we'll use grenades. And if grenades don't work, then we'll fight them with our swords and our knives and our bare hands. We'll drown them in our blood. That's what it means to be a soldier of the Imperial Guard. Now follow me. Charge! There is no better symbol of the might of the Imperium itself than the Astra Militarum, or as it is commonly known, the Imperial Guard. Though the Space Marines take the glory and stand as the visual representation of the Imperium, their numbers are dramatically thin and specialized in comparison. To reclaim 1,000,000 worlds, you need a countless number of troops willing to fight and die for your cause. The Imperial Guard represents the Imperial truth made manifest. Every year, the worlds of the Imperium pay a tithe in the form of soldiers to fight the good fight of the Emperor. And this number is impossible to pin down. Even saying billions would be a dramatic understatement. The sheer volume of soldiers serves as the fundamental backbone of the Imperium. 99.9% of battles fought by the Imperium are fought by the sundering might of the Imperial Guard. With the knowledge that the Space Marines are essentially sentient tanks, what do the members of the Imperial Guard have? If they're the might of the Emperor himself, are they not suited up in a similar way? No, not really. No fancy suits, no biological enhancements, and basically no expectation to live. Once a regiment of guard are activated, they are sent directly into battle with almost no expectations that they will survive. This is because, despite their training, their incredibly powerful armor, and extremely strong weapons that would crush any army of the modern day, they are so hopelessly outmatched to the things they will face. Sending a member of the guard is throwing a rock at a nuclear bomb. However, where they lack in advancement, they make up for in sheer numbers, and their overwhelming force can be the difference maker in any deployment they face. Quantity is a quality all its own. If they do happen to survive, they will be sent to the next battle, and so on. Seldom do members of the Astra Militarum get old or retire, and those that do are truly to be feared. There's an old saying that the average lifespan of a guardsman is about 15 hours from deployment, and considering the sheer number of guardsmen out there in any given battle, that number is probably accurate. When several million of your pool of guardsmen die within the first few hours of combat because the orcs threw a moon at you, it can really screw the numbers. The soldiers of the Guard are conscripted and trained on an incredible number of worlds in the Imperium, and these worlds can impact their training and their combat style directly. The most famous visually are the...
That was a cool color scheme.
Cadian shock troops.
Oh,
but other notable Guard factions include the gas mask-clad Death Corps of Krieg, the Rambo level of Catachan Jungle Fighters, and the Iron-Willed Mordian Iron Guard. This also helps them specialize against individual types of enemies. The Indigan Prefects are a special Guard regiment that came from a planet whose planetary governor, the leader of the planet, thought it was fun to collect exotic animals, which then crossbreed and then became the giant freight train-sized monsters destroying the planet. So the Indigan Prefects are specialized for big monsters.
Okay.
Hello, Tyrannus. One particularly interesting officer in the Guard is the enforcement officer known as the Commissar. And they are one of the more visually striking members of a regiment. These are specialized Imperial officers and act as morale officers. But instead of singing songs to the troops and providing hot meals, the Commissars are there to make sure that the members of the regiment continue to fight to the bitter end. If a soldier does not meet the standards of the Commissar, the solution is simple. There are trillions of other soldiers out there. We don't really need you. So combat fatigue, headshot. Concerns about the conflict, headshot. Fleeing the battlefield, you bet that's a headshot. Considering that these officers tend to be outside of their regiment, feelings on them can be mixed. And in fairness, certain commissars, like the esteemed Ibram Gaunt or Caiaphas Kane, tend to do a bit better with the whole people talking part. Because if, say, you were trying to tell a beefed up Catachan jungle fighter what to do, you might take a mysterious leave of absence inside a carnivorous plant. But no matter what I say, I don't think I can truly convey the sheer might of the Imperial Guard, so I'm going to get a visual aid. Let's take a look at this image right here, right?
Okay.
This is the cover of the 9th edition Codex for the Astra Militarum, the official cover art. Your eyes may be drawn to the dark and brutal looks of some of the main members on the front and the gigantic orc they are attacking. But zoom out a little bit. There is no floor. There is only people. And behind those people are tanks. And behind those tanks are flying artillery shells. There are 2 enormous transport ships in the sky, and their ramps are down, and on their ramps are more people. The Imperium is described as having 1,000,000 worlds. 1,000,000 worlds. And each one of them gives soldiers to the Imperial Guard for the tithe. On a given battlefield, in a given fight, foot soldiers number in the millions, tanks in the tens of thousands, and you have enough artillery to turn the night sky day. You have walkers and APCs and aircraft and horse cavalry and tanks the size of apartment buildings.
I love the horse cavalry.
Drop troops and spec ops and rattling snipers and gigantic ogres that can't count to 4, but they can turn you into 4 pieces, and it just doesn't end. Humanity is a horde army, but instead of a horde of bugs or rampaging orcs, it's a living wall of guns. At the end of the day, though he's been ferried through hell on a ship that's 10,000 years old to some godforsaken war-torn rock, though he deployed from high orbit with nothing but a grav chute, though he is one of 10 million men and women snatched from his homeworld to fight a war he barely understands, though he has been given a weapon that fires small suns and may annihilate him as he fires because the knowledge of how it functions has been lost, though his company is supported by tractor tanks that run on anything you can burn, though he wages war against the devouring hive mind, ravenous demons and hordes of hyper-advanced aliens with strange technologies and sorceries he never dreamed existed. No one will remember his sacrifice. There will be no records of his deeds, no glorious parades in his honor, and no remembrance of his name. All he will earn is a shallow, unmarked grave on a forgotten world untold light years from home. Yet for all this thankless sacrifice, a guardsman is a man, just like you. He has no millennia-old genetic engineering, no prophetic leader, no miracles of faith. He has his lasgun, his orders, and those beside him. He is the Imperial Guard, and he will hold the line. In the end, the Astra Militarum, despite fighting for the honor of the Imperium, are their own form of a massive horde army where individuality does not matter. They are merely numbers to the Imperium, and the vast majority of the conflicts they are sent to are attrition-based battles that gain virtually no ground while countless millions die. Yet this makes them the most human. For the Imperial Guard contains normal people, people who are happy and sad, people who laugh and love, and in there are stories, because there is strength in facing the horrors of the universe head on with nothing but a rifle in your hands and a prayer on your lips. Armed with an innumerable amount of Imperial soldiers and Space Marines, the Navy begins its great crusade into the stars to rescue the stranded Primarchs and reunite them to their legions.
Yeah.
But the biggest question needed to be asked was, what would they find? The age of strife lasted for thousands of years. If a civilization was still alive out there in the galaxy, what would they be like? The technological advancements of humanity prior to and during the Dark Age technology was unfathomable. It allowed them to spread through the galaxy with ease and allowed them to settle once inhospitable planets. These branches of humanity were provided with the vast knowledge of human creations and were given gigantic machines to make arduous labor and ease. The spreading of these massive colony ships was known as the Long March, and these ships would be retrofitted into settlements upon arrival to their new homes. Accompanying them were the gigantic pieces of farm equipment that served multiple purposes and the specialized pilots that could maintain them. They were not only able to tend the fields and do labor, but when interstellar communication was cut off, they also did a great job of protecting the colonists against both threats demonic and alien. Because of the significance of these machines, those that could pilot them were powerful enough to be considered leaders, and the upkeep and preservation of the machines and the lineage of those who
clearing a forest.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you have a contraption hook up to till a whole big giant plot of land, but like, seems like it's too high above the ground to do any farming.
Or maybe there's some other technology that
needs to eat giant potatoes.
Yeah,
giant potatoes.
I mean, hey, why not? They have it. But yeah. It's a bit odd. It seems more, at least this.
How's that farm?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that's something I guess more lore people would be able to let it know. But yeah.
Like how does your tractor go from being tractor shaped to being mech warrior shaped?
Mech warrior.
You know? Like, I look at a tractor and I'm just like, yep, tractor. Sometimes tractors get bigger, they add more wheels, put a bigger plow on the back,
but
shovel in the front, a loader,
but not
combine harvester. None of it looks like
a giant mech
warrior. Yeah,
I mean, don't
get me wrong, you could put some guns on a tractor and it'd probably be super cool. But
it's definitely looks like a battle mech to me.
Yeah, looks like you designed it to be a battle mech, not like let's slap armor on our big two-legged tractor.
Yeah,
and guns.
Yeah, and missiles and cannons or cannons, whatever other.
You know how that works. I want to see it. I want to see it doing the farming. I want to see this big ass thing bending over and plucking the weeds out,
like one at a time, like.
It's just this giant mech, and it holds like a handful of like a truck, like a dump truck load of seeds, and just scatters them.
Yeah,
it's just it just hits like an acre at a time. Just stands there in the middle. 700 acres
done,
no problem.
Done.
Get it done in the afternoon.
But it takes like a week.
It has cannons that just fire seeds out.
But it takes like a week to pick each and every one with the tiny little hands.
Yeah. It puts its giant hand comes down, and then like each finger splits off like 47 other hands that come down.
Yeah.
And it's this creepy ass thing where it's hands on hands.
Maybe. I mean, but
this is the dumbest tangent.
Yeah, I know.
Who could pilot them was imperative. These machines, over the thousands of years, would eventually be known as the
Knights. Okay.
He must be humble of heart, strong of arm, be savage in war, loyal to hearth, and follow deeds of glory. He must keep honor with all, banish cowardice from his doings, and bring his house no shame. He must serve the emperor and defend the Imperium, thus should a knight rule himself. The Age of Strife caused these colonized worlds to be cut off from the Imperium, and the reversion of these worlds resulted in the reverence for this farm equipment turned feudal, and the leadership that controlled the devices became viewed as a noble hierarchy. During the Age of Strife, exploratory fleets from Mars found plenty of these worlds, and it seemed the majority of them reverted to a similar state. Like King Arthur seeing Merlin himself, these feudal worlds welcomed the tech priests of Mars with open arms. The mutual relationship between the Admech and the nobility was beneficial. The Admech were able to secure more worlds for mining resources and potentially long-lost STC information, and the noble houses were provided with technological know-how and modifications from the Admech themselves. The suits became more and more specialized, and their history as mere pieces of equipment were lost to time. What was once a tractor became a killdozer, and the Imperial Knights were born. Unlike other military aspects in the Imperium, the nobility of the Knight houses remains just that.
That's
a nobility-focused feudal hierarchy that swears fealty to either the Mechanicum or to Terra. Like the Knights in our history, once they swear fealty, they can be called to aid their respective allegiance in the heat of battle. The ones that swear fealty to Terra are led by the High Monarch, while the ones with the Mechanicum are led by the Princess.
I assume they can't build
the ones
more.
with Terra might be sent directly to the front line of war, while the ones with the Mechanicum tend to be sent to protect the Forge world. And the heraldry of these houses is what you'd expect from a generic history of knights. Houses pledging allegiances here and there. Your run-of-the-mill War of the Roses aesthetic. Except instead of ponies, you have gigantic death. These knights can't seem to be piloted by any old person, however. A member of the nobility of any given knight house must go through the ritual of becoming. This ritual involves them sitting on the device used to control the knight, known as the Throne Mechanicum, for a full night. What's wrong with that? I mean, sitting in a chair for a full evening sounds pretty great right about now.
There's some new type
a pilot cannot drive a knight. They can, but it moves about as effective as Ripley from Aliens 2. Big, lifter thing. It is, in a sense, a beast that must be controlled, and a pilot must merge with it. The mind of the noble is connected to the machine and must fight with the mental signatures and personalities of the prior pilots as well. Everything a knight experiences in battle is felt by the pilot themselves, be it the general movement in the battlefield or damage sustained by the machine itself. If a knight's leg is blown off in battle, the pilot could experience a broken bone in the same spot. The merging to the machine forever changes the mentality of the noble that experiences it. This connection reinforces a strong degree of nobility and honor in the pilot, and a desire to fight for the glory of their house until the bitter end, as their ancestors' minds are linked directly to the knight. The size of these knights can vary, but generally speaking, they stand in the ballpark of 30 to 50 feet tall and are protected by a thick adamantium armor. Beyond that, they have their own unique ion shield generators that give them added protection, and when it comes to their looks, the most common pattern across the Imperium is the Questoris pattern, and it's honestly the one you're probably thinking about right now. But there are also smaller versions like Armigers and bigger ones known as the Dominus. As for a loadout, these guys are essentially a violent Mr. Potato Head. Battle cannons, Gatling cannons, heavy flamers, thermal cannons, up close and personal. How about a gigantic chainsword or a straight up gauntlet? And for that empty spot up top, screw it. More autocannons. Maybe add some missiles. Whatever you can do to make it as over the top as possible, you gotta do it. A squire serves a knight serves a lord serves a baron, and a baron serves a monarch. So who does the monarch serve? He serves every subject, from the rudest serf to the members of the court. Chivalric fealty, when ideally practiced, is not a pyramid, but a circle. Ironically, on the surface, night worlds themselves are one of the least grim, dark settings in the galaxy, reverting to an ancient time with knights and peasants is almost an escapism from the techno hell of the modern Imperium. But this, of course, doesn't make it great for everyone. It sounds fun on paper to play a game of knights, but it's not so fun when you're the peasant of that world. For the knights themselves, the knights give their entire lives to the Throne Mechanicum, and their reality is not their own, as they have to hear the voices of thousands of generations visions of their ancestors, controlling their actions and their lives for as long as they live. It's a strange dichotomy. When it comes to Warhammer, most to all jobs tend to be terrible. However, if there was one that could be considered enjoyable, it would be the pilot of a knight or a princeps of their larger cousins. While it does contain an egregious amount of hardship to be a knight pilot, you do enjoy a wealth of privilege. A knight pilot is often an asshole who can back it up. The rich noble that, despite his braggadocious behavior, is still very much him, and he will continue to be him. But knights are not the only thing that the Imperium found lost in the stars during their Great Crusade. Due to the circumstances of the Age of Strife, humans were changing and adapting to their new homes they were now isolated on. Some of these humans evolved over thousands of years to adapt to these areas, and they were known as abhumans. Many abhumans found their way into the Imperial Guard or other lesser positions in the Imperium if they were not wiped out immediately for being too different from their human counterparts. But their abilities and appearance vary from planet to planet, and one particular group of abhumans have made quite a name for themselves in the center of the galaxy. The origins of what will be known as the Kin start at some point during the Dark Age technology, where their ancestors left a planet that is very much Terra and went to the galactic core to mine it of its resources. They brought along with them everything that they would need for a long-term stay, most important of which were the incredible AI-based supercomputers. Be it guidance, technical or philosophical, schematics, or the ability to upload the memories of a deceased explorer to gather information from them, these computers became an essential part of their everyday life, especially considering that the galactic core is one of the most inhospitable places in the galaxy. It is an exceptionally star-dense location, full of abnormalities, black holes, and sentient hostile nebula. Whatever that last part means, it is not a safe and easy place to make a living, and this only got worse thanks to the warp storms during the Age of Strife. In order to adapt to this area, these travelers perfected a genetic makeup that made their future clones to be more adept to the area. These future clones would be shorter and more robust than their ancestors, and the need to procreate would be unnecessary because why risk messing up a good employee when you can just make a new one? These would be known as the squats, and they would all die, except for when they didn't. And now they are known by a different name. Most void-faring races have at least one cautionary tale of foolish explorers vanishing amidst its blazing stellar nurseries and strange anomalies. Yet for the leagues of Voton, the galactic core has been home now for millennia. These squat humanoids would begin to establish themselves in the core, and their goals would be the same as their ancestors. Rock and stone! But like, actually kinda, yeah. Whenever one of them would die, they would know that that sucker would need to be uploaded to the machines like their forefathers did. But the original purpose of these machines was lost to time. What was once a technical resource for them turned into a ritual known as joining the ancestors. And the fact that they were clones at this point meant that the same copy of the same individual would be uploaded countlessly. The sheer overuse of these computers and the repeated uploading of redundant data has turned these once powerful supercomputers into your parents' computer after you installed LimeWire on it, whose 50 Google Chrome tabs definitely contain information they will return to one day. So much corruption that these computers began to develop the makings of a personality of their own. These would be known as the Voton, and the Kin, this dwarf-like abhuman of humanity, would revere them. The Voton still operate to this day, but the volume of corruption have made anything outside of their very basic functions highly unpredictable. They may not answer a question for centuries at a time, and if they do provide an answer or data, it has become so corrupted and so incongruent that it takes a literal Kin wizard to comprehend it. The Kin, much like the dwarves of fantasy, exist nowadays as a mercantile species that constantly work to mine and manufacture.
Like a little
However, their
Terminator.
capitalistic desires are dangerous. The biggest crimes a Kin can face are being lazy, unproductive, and breaking a contract. Stellar conflicts have broken out over hundreds of years due to the breaking of a deal. So if you signed a contract with a Kin, you best stick to it. Because of this, the Kin have been known to interact with other species in a fairly common manner. This includes humanity, who have met various members of the Kin multiple times, but constantly considered them to be all a different species. Famously, the Imperium noted that the Kin they referred to as the Squats were their own species and were wiped out by the Tyranids. Little did they know, they were still around. The kin are acutely aware of two things. The first is that the humans of the Imperium are deeply terrified of technology, so the sheer existence of the Votann is a secret as well as the truth. This extends also to the Iron Kin, sentient robots that are treated in the same esteem of flesh and blood kin, because kin is kin. The second thing they are aware of is where they're from. They are fairly confident that they are from Terra, and they know that if this secret was to be known by the Imperium, that the Imperium might want to take ownership of them and everything they've built. So the more alien they are, the better. Now, this sounds fine and good, right? What could possibly be wrong with these guys besides the hyper late stage space capitalism? Well, we have to go back to their creation. The kin are an entirely clone-based race made from the computers that are exceptionally difficult to recreate. These machines, the Votann, are becoming more and more unpredictable and derelict. If anything were to happen to these machines, it would be a twofold ending of the kin. New kin cannot be reproduced, reducing their numbers, and the existing kin would have no further purpose because the end that awaits them would be non-existent. The horror of the kin civilization is that the entire purpose of their lives is to do the best they can at their duty and upload all they know to the Votann, their ancestor cores, join their ancestors. But doing so is actually the thing that is killing these supercomputers in the first place. The ancestors were dead, but through the first truths, their legacy continued. And though their eyes had shut long ago, indeed the ancestors were watching, not with a gaze from eons gone, but with the eyes of every living kin. Each generation was the embodiment of the ancestors cast anew by the Votann. The galaxy changed. Stars died, planets were destroyed, and civilizations fell. But as long as the Votann endured, the ancestors still lived. I do want to end this last bit with an enjoyable quote from one Kim. As you may have assumed, the Leagues of Votann are space dwarves with a corporate sci-fi motif, but they are still very much dwarves. They're squat, they're strong as hell, and they hold serious grudges. This time it's just more about your contracts than anything else. And so because of this, they might treat most things about how you would expect a capitalistic dwarf would treat things. You misunderstand, human. I am not here to debate. I am not here to compromise. What you see as yours, I am taking for my kindred. You want to bargain? Torek, unholster our means of negotiation. As the Great Crusade continued, humanity would find their missing Primarchs, reestablish the locations of all of their various worlds, and finally reclaim what the Emperor was always hoping for. But eventually, all the Emperor sought to build would be his undoing. His original attempt to have all of the Primarchs lead his great armies and usher humanity into the better ages would end up crumbling down. And we will learn about how the Imperium backslides and the horror of the modern day of 40k in part 2. I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching.
And that's it.
Yeah. All right, we finally finished part 1. Did. It only took us three parts.
Oh, it's a pretty long video.
No joke. Presentation's fantastic, though.
The quality, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so little summary. So on the last part, their computers are called Votann, right?
Votann. Yeah. Or whatever.
And they're
the pronunciation.
Yeah, and they're the kin. That's space dwarves.
Yeah. Well, they're all clones, right? So they're all kin.
Yeah, and
the Leagues of Votann, because the Votann computer is what spawns these dudes.
That are now being like. They have computers, but now the computer's so slow, it's just like...
they're old, right? They're still running like Windows 98 SE. While it was really good,
it's still really old, and they're
still doing like internet connection sharing, and they're still running like DirectX, like DirectX 1, you know? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now...
So they have problems.
So the age of... He keeps mentioning the Age of Strife, and maybe it's been like
Age of Strife is when like Slanesh was born, and like the warp got all messed up, and that screwed up
and cut off travel to everyone.
Yeah, they cut off all these worlds from like not interdimensional travel, like warp travel, like travel through
warp travel,
and communication.
Okay, so that's why the farmer mats turned into actual like fighting mats, and on the other.
Yeah, like all planets couldn't get resupplied and they couldn't get whatever, so they had to make do with what they had.
And then
so like they're cut off for like I think like thousands of years. I'm not sure how long the Age of Strife lasted. I'd have to go look at a timeline, but like these worlds are all cut off, and like the Votan is like cut off from everyone else.
Okay.
In like the galactic core, like in the middle of the Milky Way.
I see.
So it's almost like they split off into like another shoot of evolution. They had a whole bunch of gear and tech for this like deep expedition, and they got stranded out there.
Okay.
And eventually somehow I guess they're just like F having sex with ladies.
We're gonna clone.
We'll just start cloning ourselves. We'll just upload everything I know into a machine, and then I'll clone myself. I guess it's kind of like an immortality thing, right? And then
and then
I'll have all the info.
Oh,
and we just keep uploading everything we learn. Yeah,
but we're not expanding the storage, so we don't realize.
Well, I mean, they can't, right? They can't get more stuff. They're cut off.
They're cut off. So
like you only have that one computer and database. That's all you have.
And you're kind of screwed if it ever
and
dies.
Now it's been so long. Well, now it's been so long that it's not like they go just like, hey, can we get more? People like more of what?
What?
I don't even know what that is.
That doesn't exist anymore. You know.
Yeah, we don't make that.
We don't make that.
Although we make our rhinos and like the Lehman Russ. That's all we can make.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So we're building up to where 40k is currently. That's where we're going with all of this. It seems like from what he was saying at the end.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not so much of like a timeline video, but he does actually have a timeline video that we should watch. But it's I mean, it's kind of essentially we're here.
Yeah. And I'm kind of glad we watched it, because now when we go back to the timeline video, we can actually say, oh yeah, that.
We'll have more. Yeah, we'll have a point of references for things, or it will give us more points of reference. But
okay.
But yeah, he had some factions he didn't have in the other one, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm a dwarf enjoyer, so Leagues of Votan are pretty tight. I actually talked to one of my buddies. I was like, hey, I'm starting to get into Warhammer. Like, don't you play? And he was like, oh, I just picked up a League of Votan army, like secondhand. And I was like, oh, for real? Shit.
Oh,
show me how to play.
Teach me. Yeah.
Can you get like a combat patrol going or something?
Yeah. I actually had no idea they had space dwarves, so that was a shock. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they always had a codex for them, or and I don't know if like through the different editions, if they like, this isn't popular, don't make another codex for it, or people want it again, bring it back. Who knows?
Yeah.
The EA Games route of editions.
Yeah.
Take away this feature in Madden and bring it back in like 3 years and pretend like it's brand new.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of stuff into it, like this thing's not selling, get rid of it, or fold it into whatever. But I don't know how many codexes there are for Votan. I have looked at like their model kits, and their vehicles look super cool. They're very like moon lander, sci-fi-ish kind of thing. Like if you were to think of like a moon base, that's how their stuff looks, at least to me.
Yeah,
that kind of level of sci-fi.
I'll have to definitely Google and look more
like that power armor aesthetic they have. Yeah. Their vehicles all look like that too.
Oh, okay, cool, that's pretty cool. Then, yeah.
Lots of bubble windows. Lots of curves.
You know,
they're curvy people.
They're also short people.
Stout.
Yeah.
Hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like a ball.
Yeah, I still can't get over the farming mech turned.
Yeah, I just don't know how that works.
I mean, the thing that
my imagination's lacking. I could see if they were tanks, like a bulldozer into a tank.
Yeah.
I got it.
There,
a tractor with combines and stuff on it into a death machine, a harvester of death instead of a harvester of corn. Or wheat. I understand this.
Yeah. There's actually a game, Lightyear Frontier. I'm like, oh, that's
enough of your obscure Steam games to make me buy.
I know.
But like, it's like I never played Mech Warrior or Armored Core. It was like,
no, I never did either.
This stuff was probably farm equipment. Like, no, this was made to blow shit up. There's only one.
Yeah.
Now, that said, you go watch like Gundam, like specifically Iron Blooded Orphans and stuff like that. They use mobile suits
to farm
for like doing labor.
For doing.
Not all of them are combat suits.
Okay.
A lot of things like Aliens, where it's using the loaders or using it as farm equipment, but they don't look like that.
No,
they
definitely
don't just
not.
Take the actual like combat military grade mobile suits, just wipe the floor with all of the other ones. You know what? I say that, but where's Wilson UC nerd over here will tell you that the original Xeon mobile suits were originally made for work as opposed to combat. But then quickly they were retrofitted for combat for the I don't know if you call that a Civil War or what. Anyways, sorry guys. I like Gundam. I like Gundam a lot.
Yeah,
I'll talk about Gundam.
Yeah, we could go on for another hour if we were just talking about Gundam, right?
Oh, I could. I don't know about you. Well, you just sit and listen.
I would just sit.
I need to get this guy to watch Iron Blooded Orphans and some of the other weird. Like, UC is too much to get into.
Yeah,
we could watch Iron Blooded Orphans is digestible.
Yeah, and all that.
And we need to watch Mobile Fighter G. God, if it can't be fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah. But we also have a lot of Warhammer stuff to get through.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
no, I'm pretty sure this is a Warhammer channel now, and I am okay with that.
I mean, I am too. That's very interesting. To learn about lots of lore.
I enjoy sci-fi, and when I get bored, I can always go Age of Sigmar or
other
whatever.
Stuff. And
all the other stuff.
Still haven't
30K.
seen
30K has some cool tanks.
I guess at some point I'm gonna have to watch the secret level.
Oh, we'll watch that. Oh, for sure.
I'd still have
we'll watch that on here.
Yeah,
assuming
people want
Daddy Jeff doesn't copyright strike us. We could do that.
Yeah, we'll figure out a way. But
sure.
Yeah, we're done with that part.
I think I need to play through Space Marine 2 and then I could watch the secret level.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it supposed to happen right after Space Marine 2?
I
think it's like a continuation of the storyline.
Yeah.
The secret level episode.
Okay, see, I didn't know about that. So
yeah, I think it takes place like right after Space Marine 2.
Oh, that would be awesome.
I could be wrong, but that's what I heard. Yeah. So I kind of have been avoiding.
Well, I'm going in blind too. So But
did you beat Space Marine?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah. I need to get off my ass and do that then.
No, well, and then Dark Tide.
You probably did that while I'm editing these damn videos.
Then I think Space Marine had the Horde mode, and then Dark Tide with the new class too. That's coming out.
Yeah, but none of that has to do with story. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Just saying. Well, I think we should call it there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, unless you have anything to add.
No, I think I sure added everything I wanted to.
All right, well.
Yeah. So
hurry up and buy a combat patrol box.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Because I have to do
peer pressure is a bitch.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But thanks for watching, everyone.
Well, the way to make it stop is to buy. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Comment down below and answer all the questions that I asked. Tell us the exact process of converting farm equipment into a knight. I'm definitely not going to buy a knight model.
No, that was so detailed.
I'll just build a Gundam kit instead. I can afford a Gundam kit.
Afford a Gundam kit. But yeah.
Yeah, tell us all that shit. Tell us about how did the Emperor lose all his children? Was he just a negligent father, or did something happen?
Or was it a Thanos snap in one go?
No, that kills people, I'm pretty sure. That unalives them.
Yeah. But
although not too much different than what happened to my 1,000 sons over here. Hey,
oh my,
little dusty boys.
Dusty boys. Yeah,
Kenny, you know how you fix when your body keeps mutating due to sorceress powers?
No.
You know how you fix that?
How?
What if you didn't have a body? Can't mutate a body that ain't there.
Oh, that's
fixed. Problem solved. Sometimes you got to think outside of the box.
I get so.
Yeah, I just spilled my drink. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, cut the shit off. Yeah.
See you guys
later.